coming. It's incredible to be having our fourth event. This is such an honor and privilege for me to see every single one of you showing up and saying yes to yourself. One of the things that this journey has really shown me is that the women who make it into leadership roles are the ones who say yes. They're the ones who do show up to events like this. They're the ones who show up to be mentors. They're the ones who show up to be menteed. And it is the one consistency that I can share. And so I feel honored to be sharing this space with all of you and knowing that every single one of you are tapping into your leadership and your careers and into yourself and into each other. So thank you so much, first and foremost, to every single one of you for coming. It means so much to me that all of you are sharing this vision with me. So I also want to thank all the portfolio heads who have come. They have green name tags. Everybody who wants to know who is the portfolio head, if you don't know who they are, just look for a green name tag, talk to them, especially that bald guy in the back. He knows everybody. He's a great guy to get to mentor you. So please, every single one of these portfolio heads here, they have consistently been showing up, and all of them really believe in helping one another. And so I just want to thank every single one of them who's here. Jessica Chusing, who is the Director of Compliance for Argo. She is also with IREM. So she's a big believer in IREM and how that can contribute to your career advancement. So thank you for being here. We have Diane Fields, who is one of our one of our past speakers. Diane is just a rock star. Thank you so much for being here. Peter St. John, where are you, Peter? There he is in the back.
Hines in the house.
Yeah, Hines in the house. He has an incredible team of women who he leads, and he really was happy to come. So thank you so much for that. Dana Getz from JLL. Dana, right? This woman's awesome. She's also New Jersey proud, so. She's absolutely amazing. We have Matt Duthie. We'll call him the resident troublemaker. But so thank you so much, Matt, for being here. He has helped so many women to leadership roles single-handedly, and so we're honored to have you here, Matt. Amy Monticelli. Where's Amy? She's also one of our past speakers, another one of our rock stars. She leads an incredible team over at Paramount, and Paramount's just a phenomenal portfolio, so we're honored to have you. Roberta Salmon, I think she might be running late, but she's also one of my favorite rock stars. She was a past speaker. I've seen her go into multiple roles, into more and more leadership, and they're doing incredible things over at Rudin, so I'm really honored that she is here. Drew O'Connor, who is changing the game over at Rudin as well. I mean, he's making it cool, guys, all right? So thank you, Drew, for coming. Drew has been a continual supporter. So definitely all the ladies, bug him, okay? He's somebody you're going to want to talk to. So he likes good talent. He's got great taste. And Jennifer, how do I say, Twombly? Jennifer Twombly, I don't want to say it wrong, of Rock Hill, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. She's from the Boston area, so we traveled pretty far to be here. Thank you for coming, for supporting this movement. Thank you for supporting Carolina. We're honored to have you, so thank you so much. We would not be here without our sponsors. This is a free event. I want to always have it be free. I think all of us economically are not getting everything that we should be getting. And so it's much harder for most women to be able to afford coming to industry events. And so I want something that's exclusively just for you and doesn't impact us financially. So we even the playing field for success. So our sponsors, I have to say, I'm privileged to be working with them and have them supporting this event because if they are just the people where I say women's empowerment, they say absolutely, right? And so that's the really cool part about who they are and their support is that true blue, these are people who are like, yes, I believe in women's empowerment. I want to see more women in leadership roles, and they are happy to support what we're up to. So first and foremost, Guardian Services. They have been with us for, where's Guardian? Where's Guardian? This is the third event they're sponsoring, the third one. And the story I have for their support and just them always standing by us is absolutely amazing. Oh, sorry here. But here's the thing I love about Guardian is cleaning companies, I'm sure we all know, have their pluses and minuses. And they can make or break a lot of us in what we do in our careers. And Guardian is the only cleaning company through doing this where I see every single property manager and tenants come up to me and tell me how much they love this cleaning company. And if a tenant tells you that, you're like, what? Like, it's, they usually have nothing but complaints. So I have found just a new love for this particular company through this process. TriStar Construction also has been sponsoring us repeatedly, and they just do such an incredible job. Again, I love to be working with people where every property manager has nothing but good things to say about them, and that makes me feel really good. We have Nuvo Elevators, same thing. Robert's been supporting us and this event, and these are people who are consistently showing up so that we can continue to have these events. We've got someone new, Bob, over at Royal Waste Services. I have a heart for waste management. I'm sorry, I like my trash. But honestly, Bob got an email from us, and he was just like, he literally called me up and he said, Alicia, women are doing such an incredible job. I've been doing this for so long when men were running it, and so many women are coming in and they're just so good. I have to sponsor this. This is a real conversation he had with me. And that is such a privilege to be able to have somebody like that who's here sponsoring this event, who really believes in what we're doing. Rhino Global Solutions, this is someone who's outside of our industry. And I was just like, hey, women's empowerment. And they were like, yes, they're creating like smart technology for displays. And it's kind of cool. And they were just like, women's empowerment. Yes. So thank you, Rhino Global Solutions. DTM Drafting, where are you guys? I'm so happy to have you join us. I've heard nothing but great things about you. Awesome company. I've got Newman Page, the PR company that sponsored this event, the Yahoo, the MSN, the Real Deal that is coming out. He has been spearheading that. The CEO is here. So John, thank you so much for all of your sponsorship and support. And then last but not least, ProTech. I don't normally thank ProTech because most people know I am ProTech, but I happen to have the owner of ProTech here tonight, Max Kane. Where are you, Max? Max, where are you? You're supposed to stand up wherever you are. Where's it? Oh my goodness. Okay. Either way, obviously he's a little shy, but I would not be here and this would not be here if years ago when I presented this idea to him, he did not immediately say yes. I told him, I think this is a really great idea. We should do this. We should put ProTalk dollars behind it. And his first response was absolutely. And most bosses, I'm sure we know, when you say this is going to be more work for me, it's going to cost you more money, they don't like that. So he was 100% behind it, and I cannot be more grateful because him saying yes has made a lot of doors open for a lot of people, and I'm honored to be part of that. And last but not least, I just have some special people who I'm going to thank. Carla Rooney of Paramount. Carla, this woman has been supporting me in doing this since day one. She's been supporting me in ProTech since day one. She was the first person in Paramount portfolio who had said yes to using ProTech. So she has just been a champion for me and for the visions that I've been doing. So thank you, Carla, for everything. I'm going to thank Melissa Reed. She's who's hooking us up with Turt two times in a row. She isn't here tonight because her brother's getting married, but Melissa is also a huge supporter and she's really helping us out. And and Tarte Cosmetics. Thank you, Tarte, for giving us free makeup. A woman's favorite gift is free makeup. And then Gail Keane. I don't know if anyone saw the emails and the calendar invites. I don't know what Microsoft did. That poor Gail was simply on the invites and sending it out, but she got so many emails back and accepts and tentative. So Gail, thank you for honorarily being a part of my team and helping me put this together. So that's all the thank yous for everybody. I lost my voice, so you'll see me drinking a lot of water tonight, just to be able to keep it going. All right, and I also have, because it was something a lot of people came up to me about with the panel where they were saying, Alicia, I don't have a recording of the last panel. What did people say? I want the answers. So I do want to let you know, in the fall, we are launching a podcast, pending I get everybody's videos done, but so that you can access all of the information and the wisdom of all these incredible speakers on an evergreen level. So it won't be necessary for you to only come to these events. Come to the events because you want new information, because you want new connection. But I'm going to try to make sure that everybody has access to this incredible wisdom on an evergreen level. So look out for that in the coming months, because we're really excited to be able to offer that to everybody. All right. Now, without further ado, let's talk about this incredible panel that we have. First, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So let me introduce our incredible panel that we have here tonight. So first we have Carolina Ramos. She is the head of the Tri-State Region for Property Management and Construction at Rock Hill Management. We have Laura Palumbo, the Portfolio Manager at Empire State Realty Trust, and Nikisha Shaw. She's the Senior Portfolio Programs Manager, Environmental Health and Safety and Sustainability at Hines. So I would affectionately call her a green queen. So if anybody needs some advice, she's the one to bug. So the first thing I'm going to start with is, can each of you, we'll start with Carolina, just tell us all about your background. How did you get into property management, and more about what you do in your role today?
Sure. Just want to kind of echo Alicia and say thank you all for coming, to the sponsors, to the portfolio heads, and the past speakers. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for allowing us to speak. So I've been in the industry for 22 years. I started as a property administrator. I stumbled into this glorious industry, and I saw my career path. As soon as I started working in this industry, I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I immediately set goals for myself, and I just continued to work hard and, concentrating on learning specific aspects of running a property. Concentrated in accounting, became a controller, moved over to operations, started managing single trophy assets, and then moved over to portfolios and just started to increase the portfolio sizes and learning about construction. And so today I oversee the property management and construction for Rock Hill. And thank you again for having us here.
My name is Laura Palumbo, and I have been in property management for 5 years, but I've been in commercial real estate for a very long time. So, so I started out actually working on Wall Street for 2 years, and I had enough of that. And then I went to work for Helmsley Spear doing internal auditing, and that's when I discovered that I loved real estate. Most of my career prior to property management was in asset management, and I worked in New Jersey and worked in New York. Also did some setup for some property management accounting and worked on the debt side as well for a large insurance company. And so I would say now, being in property management for 5 years, I started right before COVID. So I had some interesting experiences with not understanding a lot of things in property management, being challenged, and was very happy to deal with the challenges. Had the riots, had lost a property manager, an assistant property manager in one of the buildings in my portfolio, almost 1 million square foot building that I all of a sudden had to become a property manager. So I've really enjoyed property management, and I have a great, great appreciation for property managers that I did not have when I was in asset management. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you to everybody that is a sponsor. Thank you to Alicia for setting this up, and I hope everyone has a great time.
So thank you everyone for coming. I am Nikisha Saw. I have started out in property management as a property administrator many, many moons ago. I can say I raised my children through this process. And when I started out, same thing, kind of stumbled into this industry. I started out on Wall Street. So luckily for me, I went to high school downtown Manhattan and got to intern at the American Stock Exchange. A recruiter saw me and said, "Hey, do you want to join property management?" Had no idea what that was. Joined because my background was accounting. So originally I thought I'd be an accountant, and then joined a property manager to run the day-to-day operations for about a 700,000 building in Brooklyn. And so I was with Forest City, Ratner for about 17 and a half years. Through that, went from property administrator to FMPM, running the FDNY headquarters in Brooklyn. I feel like I grew up in this industry because of being with Forest City. So that transitioned me to join Hines about almost now 7 years ago, where I started working on the FM side of things. And so the best part of that transition is because being in property management, I knew how to speak to my property managers. As we all know in this room, tenant relations is very key. Being a partner, not adversaries, is key. And so I was able to bring that to Hines and to our client. And currently in my role, I support our portfolios of PMs and FMs and engineers focusing on environmental health and safety, sustainability, how do we operate more efficiently? And being from this world of property management, I understand their pains. The biggest part about new initiatives in your role is someone from the top brings it in and you have no idea why. I can understand the why, and then I can translate it to the team to make it less pressure points. And so I've been able to take this role, really create it for myself, and then transpose it into the world of property management to support a greater, larger amount of people. My passion in property management is also diversity. So in my current role, I am also the East Region Black Employees Advancement lead for New York City, Boston, DC, everything around the belt. And so I do mentor high school students, introducing them into the world of real estate. And I also have my mentee here. She was my AFM. And so I've been able to give back what I've gotten from this industry. So thank you all for having me here so I can share my journey, and hopefully it sparks some interest into you on your career journeys and how you can grow.
The thing that I love about this panel is that everyone here is so unique. I look at Carolina, and she has made herself the jack of every trade, like, and not even a jack. She's an expert in so many verticals. And she's, what is that? She's the Jill. She's the Jill. But that's so cool to have somebody who is so diversified on an expert level. We have someone who has a background in finance, which is incredibly cool, and has an interesting perspective that many of us don't come from. And then we have Nikisha, who is so passionate and so knowledgeable in all health, safety, and environmental things. It's overwhelming. And even the fact that she's spearheading equality on a level for Black women is incredible. So this is such a wonderful group of people. And thank you so much for joining us and being willing to share your wisdom and your pain, and hopefully save somebody from some of the scars that we bear. So without further ado, I'll ask the first question to Carolina, and then the same question will go to you, Laura, and then to Nikisha. What are some leadership challenges unique to women, Carolina?
So there's a laundry list, but I think one of the main, I think one of the ones that I would like to highlight tonight is the stereotypes. When I started in this industry, I had just turned 20. I was very young, And so I felt like every time I went on an interview or I spoke to someone in the industry, they thought I was inexperienced. Then when I was in my 30s, it was always a question of, well, she's probably going to start a family and she's going to need time off. Then when I turned, I was in my 40s, it's, well, now she has kids and she's not going to have time for work because they have activities. And I feel like as we get older, you're in your 50s or your 60s, now they look at you and they say, well, you just don't have the energy that we need because you're too old. So what do we have to do to be able to keep up with, the male counterparts in our industry? We have to educate ourselves. We have to build networks. We have to get out there, use your resources. You have to really work twice, 3 times as hard, unfortunately, than our male counterparts. But I think the stereotypes are probably one of the things that I struggled most throughout my career. And so I've always worked really hard to stay current. Every acronym that I can get behind my name, I do because it makes me stand out. I am not a networker. It's not in my DNA. And I've had to change that about my personality so that I can get ahead in my career the right way, because there's other ways that don't align with my values. And I want to be known for my hard work, my dedication, and my focus. And so I think that, we all have the opportunities. It's all about just tapping into them and just, exposing yourselves to what's out there.
That's good. And I love that the room, there was like, everybody was agreeing with the stereotypes you said. So, the whole room was like, yes! You nailed it when everyone's like, I know! So, Laura, same question. I'll read it again. What are some of the leadership challenges unique to women?
So as Carolina said, there is a laundry list. And interestingly enough, I was reading a couple articles this week in the Wall Street Journal on women and specifically studies that were done. One that was done by McKinsey and the Lean In organization. And I think everybody has heard of Lean In and Sheryl Sandberg, which the book came out in 2013. I think I read it then, and I think now it's really as important as ever. And the statistics from these articles that I read, one of them is that, we all know that there's 50% of the population are women, but yet less than 30% are in senior leadership and C-suite positions. And, there's been progress, but it's still not there. And women also do not make the same pay that men make. And it also said in 2023, women, their annual revenue went up 1.3% and men's went up 3%. So it's just, we really have to keep pushing. I just feel like there's situations where we just need to show that we are worth it and that we deserve to be paid as much as men. And I think as a woman, you just need to always get in the face of men and people that are reflecting on your life and that are going to be responsible for what you get paid. The double standard also is something that is, you're always going to be questioned about, well, how would a man do it? But women are so much more talented. Come on, let's face it. We can multitask. We can multitask. We can give birth. I mean, we I don't know too many men
And
that
bounce
can do that.
back.
And what? And bounce back. Yeah. I mean, and there has been a lack of support for working mothers also. And I've seen a change. I can say when I had my child 19 years ago, there was no mother's room. So I had to sneak up somewhere in the building that I worked at and do my thing for nursing. So, I mean, it's getting better. It's getting better. But we all have to just keep in front of it and keep going. And eventually, I think we'll get there. But I think the Lean In organization is something that's really interesting. And if you haven't read the book, I would highly recommend it. I would also recommend also the book called Grit by Angela Duckworth, which is another really, really good, timely book.
I read it. It's
You
great.
read? Yeah, it's a great book. And check out the 2 articles in the Wall Street Journal this week.
Thank you. That's good. And Nikisha, same question. What are some of the leadership challenges unique to women?
So I actually wrote down a list because there is a list, right? So not getting visibility in your work or a man trying to take credit for your work. Opportunities to expand your skill set with exposure, which allows you to actually make decisions on your own, fail on your own, so you can learn from them. Mentorship, sponsorship, allyship. And men taking up space, talking more with their microaggressions or their aggressions, because how many times we've had to raise our voice when we necessarily don't want to, but it happens on a day-to-day, whether it's you're on a conference call or in a meeting where someone speaks over you or tells you to hush, because that's like the bane of my existence, the hush. Then I feel like I have to talk to you as you're one of my children, right? And so then, and then it's the idea that, as women, we are looking for opportunities where we can showcase how great we are. To that point, statistically, companies do better when they have women as leaders. 100% diversity in the workforce and in the leadership roles are required because that's how actually companies are making their money. And whether men want to admit it or not, we also have the gift of making them believe that they've made a decision that they thought they were making. We all know that, right? So that's also a gift, right? There's a saying of like, happy wife, happy life. Well, convince your husband it's his idea and you rock too. Or your boss. So that's definitely the key to like what I've seen and how I've been able to battle those things is just really trying to also evaluate the men that you work with, because they all have telltale signs of how we can figure out how to either work with them or do conflict resolution and even cheerleading for yourself. Because having the belief that you are worth and worthy of everything, even when those missteps happen, even when those disappointments happen, once you have that belief in yourself, nothing else anyone does can matter because you know what your path is and you know what your worth is.
That's good. All right, something I have to say about this panel. They're obviously nailing it. I mean, when you see the whole room go in an uproar, you're like, oh my God, especially the pay inequality. All right, we will go to the next question. But you guys are just so awesome, and you're just making such great points that we all struggle with every day. So thank you for that. What is the best leadership advice you've ever gotten? And we'll start with Laura. Laura, what is the best leadership advice you've ever gotten?
So I was never mentored in my career or had any sponsorship, but I've gathered pieces here and there from people that I've admired in senior leadership positions, women and men. First thing I would say is make yourself stand out. Always be willing to be open with any team that you have. Open communication is really a good thing in a leader. Understand and try to empower your team to be taking risks and not to be afraid to fail, because people can learn a lot from failure.
Failure is only a lesson.
Failure could be a very good lesson. You can revisit why you failed. Try to do better. Continuous learning. You should always have continuous learning within your career path so that you can take on things that you personally think you need to learn to continue to go forward. I think that's about all I can think of now.
And just to recap, her answer is no one gave her the best advice. She had to put it together herself. So hats off to you, Laura, because I know I don't know where I'd be with some of the best advice I've gotten. And I thank every day those people because it impacts every part of my day. So it's a very real thing that many women face in our career paths where we don't actually have anybody taking us under their wing and we don't have somebody supporting us, and it makes the climb that much harder. So thank you for sharing.
I will
that.
say, actually, I had the opposite in one of my early positions where I had what they call the queen bee syndrome, where I was young and I had just started, and I tried to befriend a couple of women that were at senior positions. They wanted no part of it. And, you don't know whether it's because they feel like they don't really want to be seen as supporting women in front of men, or or part of me thought, well, do they feel like I got here and I'm not going to help you get there? I mean, unfortunately,
That's
it happens.
still a problem.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's,
it happens,
it is.
unfortunately.
And that's, let me tell you, for the credit of everybody here and every woman who has sat in these seats, and for the women in this room and has been in, who has continuously come to these events, these are women who are supporting women. But I think there is that issue still happening. And all we can do is be a beacon and try to show that there is another path. And that there's more inside of this path of helping others than there is in just self-serving yourself and just trying to keep it all for yourself. Because I haven't seen anyone high in any leadership position who wasn't there building other people up. So, that's real. That's so real. And I see it every day. Especially when I'm like, hey, do you want to be a speaker? And they're like, no. To their credit, some people are shy of stages and have stage fright. But anyway, Nikisha, I'm going to ask you the same question. What is the best leadership advice you've ever gotten?
So there's two that stand out. So my property manager, I always credit my career to him when I first started out, because he literally, on his last day in the office when he was retiring, he said to me, be your own cheerleader. No one cheers for you if you don't believe in yourself. And that was him walking out the door, telling me to hold my head high. Getting a little emotional because the other part of my success is a woman who was a leader and was in a position to promote me and sponsor me. And I give her credit all the time. Marianne Gilmartin. I became a FMPM because my division of our firm, when I worked for Forest City Ratner, the only division that didn't have a woman VP, woman manager, was our property management team. And she formed our first women's group to empower women within our firm. And when she took the reins from Bruce Ratner, she said, this is a meritocracy. And this requires that everyone be a team player. That's the women and the men of this organization. And I remember I was brave enough in our first meeting to say, I see all kinds of women in VP roles, in managerial roles, now that you're taking the reins. But my division doesn't have that. And the next day I got a call from my director of property management, and he's like, what did you tell Marianne? I said, well, I told her the truth. The only way you become a property manager in this organization, if you're a chief engineer and you've been in the engine room, and particularly the property administrator trains that chief engineer, the budget, the operations of that building, and the tenant relations. And from that day forward, she told him, exactly, the property administrator, right? And so literally within a month's time, she tasked him with an answer. Where is the role that's open to give her a position? And that's how I got my role as the FMPM for the FDNY headquarters, because of her.
Carolina, what is the best leadership advice you've ever gotten?
So, when I started in this industry, like I said, I was really young. I didn't know anyone. And I thought to myself, well, I'll be recognized for my work. I'll just put my head down and, plug along and somebody will notice me. And that doesn't work. So luckily, my husband, who is the biggest networker you will ever meet, he'll talk to a fly. He encouraged me to come out of my shell, to meet people, to go to events. And I aligned myself with leaders in the industry that were willing to guide me. I reached out, I asked questions. I would sit down with them and say, look, this is where I am in my career. I want to make a move. And one of those people is here tonight. And I just want to say a big thank you to Matt Duthie because
I told you. I told you.
I have learned so much by not just having conversations with Matt, but also watching him and the immense knowledge that he has, and his willingness to help people, no matter what gender you are. So I would say that even if you don't have a mentor that's guiding you, find someone, find a group. You shouldn't have just one mentor. You should have multiple, and they should be from different backgrounds, because you can really take so much experience from these leaders and apply it to your own career path.
And
good.
I do want to add just one more piece to that.
Yeah.
And now that I'm in the senior role, you keep growing as you go along. So what I have learned is that in addition to your mentors, your sponsors, and your allies, you also need an executive board. So if you think of yourself as a business, just like any organization, they have an executive board who advises them on things. I have key C-suite leaders that I can call on their cell phone, ask them a question, whatever transition I'm making in my career, whatever I'm thinking about, and that executive board gives me a variety of different opinions so I could make a decision or help me make that decision. So that's also something to think about in addition to your networking. Build a network of executive leaders, and it could also be your best friend, because your best friend too could talk you off a ledge if you need to.
It's good. Such good advice across the board. This one is a question that we don't actually see a lot, but is near to my heart. I'll ask the question. We're gonna start with you, Nikisha, but just kind of give a little more coloring to it. How do you manage being emotionally compromised at work and still remain balanced and professional? And this is one that I really think is an important one, because as women, you find out you're pregnant and you still have to show up to work and pretend like you're not, and nobody knows, and you're stressed out. You could also be experiencing a miscarriage at work. And if anyone's been through it, can last up to a week or more. And you're still like, do I go to work? Do I really take off of work for this? People experience deaths in their family. Your children get sick, and not just like colds. Like there are people out there who will experience real illnesses for our children, and we're taking care of our parents who are aging. And how do you face heartache and yet still show up, especially with our job, because it's so stressful, right? It's going to push on our buttons. People are not usually acting right a lot of times. And so how do we stay calm and maintain a healthy mental state of mind, act professional, and still be able to focus on our career and go to the next level, right? And so what would you give as advice inside of that space, Nikisha?
So there's a lot, right? We are complicated beings, and I have been a mother throughout my career. My kids are older now, so I get to do all these things without having to do pickup time or Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts. But definitely also I've been able to really assess for myself where my safe spaces are. And that goes back to your villages and your tribes and the people who support you. If it's a bad day from work, sometimes you need to cry. You can't be your authentic self sometimes in the work environment. And so being able to find those people who you can call in the bathroom or take a break. I take mental health days. Wellness is key. I've learned that now. I was the 7 to 7 p.m. I was in my building at 7 a.m. I was out at 7 p.m. I wanted to see what happened before the day started. I wanted to see what happened. And now in the role that I'm in, I have to dial that back and tell myself, you don't need to do that. There are actually a whole bunch of people that's already doing that. You now have to think about yourself. And so being able to really find that balance of going to the spa on a Wednesday. I am not repping them, but the QC Spa has a great view of New York City on a Wednesday, and you're in the pool and you're realizing that my phone is in the locker and I'm not answering an email today. Because how many of us, I've experienced getting a blood transfusion. I had a medical emergency, I had a project going on, and I was getting a blood transfusion in my hospital bed and still calling the contractors because work had to happen the next day. And we were on a deadline. And so those are the kinds of constraints that you go through that as a woman, you're now feeding into this male dominance that you must have to go and go and go. So I've also had to learn where I can pause. And so I give an example during COVID. My daughter was in high school and was at a boarding school and went from complete active life to in a pod of 6 people that she could only talk to and wear a tracking device. That was not the environment that I wanted for her. So I took time off of work to be a caregiver, to set her up for homeschool, give her what she needed. And it took a lot for me to do that and be courageous to do it because I thought I had to be in the office. The office was still there when I got back. And so I learned, sometimes one of my friends said to me, it's like when you're in a car. You park, you put the car in park, you get out, you do what you got to do, get back in and hit drive again. And as women, we have that capability. And if we trust in ourselves, no matter what gap you take, no matter what pause you take, the worth that you have and the knowledge that you bring to your team will never, ever fail. And that's how you'll always be successful.
Thank you. You heard it here first. You are allowed to take off of work. Alicia Allan-Vanderbilt gives you permission. Carolina, same question. How do you manage being emotionally compromised at work and still remain balanced and professional?
So, it's tough. We all have, we either have kids or pets or aging parents or grandkids or nieces and nephews. Everybody has responsibilities outside of work. Things happen on a day-to-day basis that are very challenging, and yet you still have buildings to manage, personnel, and just tackling the day-to-day issues. And I think that a lot of times, and I go back to the stereotypes, women were always categorized as just being way too emotional. And I think that we need to tap into that a little bit and really focus on balancing that in our careers and focusing on the fact that maybe some of us may be more emotional than our male counterparts, but that is actually a benefit because we can relate to a lot of people. We can have conversations and really engage on a deeper level. I think it's more of a benefit for us, and we should utilize that more. I think we are always being challenged, whether it's at work or not, and your emotional capacity, you should really be focused on the time and the place, right? We have to hone that in as professionals. Take time for our family because it's important. It's not just about the career. My motto in life is it's all a balance. If you maintain a balance with everything, it'll work out. It'll all work out in the end. If you shift to just work, it's going to hurt you in your personal life, your family life. If you shift the other way, it's the same thing. So maintain a healthy balance. Tap into your emotions when you need to at work. And always stay true to who you are as a person, and just speak to your team and your counterparts in the industry with sincerity. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Laura, same question. How do you manage being emotionally compromised at work and still remain balanced and professional?
I'm sorry. I just want to tell a story that Alicia reminded me of when she said pregnant. So when I got married, I lost a lot of weight, and I was like Jennifer Aniston thin. Okay, and I got pregnant a month after I got married, and I was not going to tell anyone for a while, obviously. And I was in my office, and it was my boss, came, stood in front of everybody and yelled, "You're pregnant!" And I was horrified. I was just like, what? I went home and I said to my husband, never say that to a woman in your life. Like, never say anything about a woman's weight because it's horrifying. Anyway, I just that story sticks with me forever. So unfortunately, I've had 3 instances with people that I've worked with that have actually passed on while I was working. I've had 3 deaths personally in my personal life as well. So I've really had to deal with answering this question and living this question. So for me, what I did was I acknowledged it, right? I said, like, I'm going through this. I need to give myself space. And I would seek out people I could talk to at work. And if you're lucky enough and you can actually talk to your supervisor, I mean, that's the best. And just be honest and say, you know, this is what I'm going through. And if you have a good supervisor or boss, they will say, fine, do what you need, take the time you need, you can do it. I would take walks. I would, you know, all of a sudden get upset, take walks, do deep breaths, but always tried to stay professional when I could. And self-care, like, absolutely just think of what I could do to make myself feel better while I was dealing with the situation. And I was fortunate enough to have people help me through it. And I think, and that's key.
That's good. That's good. I mean, one of the biggest themes I've seen in that is the stepping away. Like, that's one of the consistencies inside of when you're emotionally compromised. I think, especially in this industry, everything does really feel like it's urgent, it's really important. And to just sit there and say, it's not more important than my mental well-being and how I'm going to respond. Because let me tell you, everybody's going to push your buttons. And when you're compromised, it's harder. It's much harder. So I think that's great advice. All right, this is the last question. We're gonna start with Carolina again. As firms focus on ESG, how can women in property management pivot to include sustainability in operational practices and being more innovative to advance in their careers? And this one I'm going to give a little more coloring to, as this actually helped my career.
And mine.
So yeah, and Nikisha's. So, you know, I got plugged into ProTech as a property manager because because I was really plugged into doing all the sustainability stuff for my building, and I really became passionate about it. I also like the fact that it made my life and my job easier. So I was like, if I don't get ProTech all the e-waste in this building, they're going to stop sending a truck. So I'm going to keep doing this because it's making my life better. But, you know, fast forward, because I was so passionate, because I did so much on a sustainability level, because I was so plugged in, the opportunity for me to come and expand and run an entire division and finally have the E in my title, right? I've got executive in my title, yay. Yay, it's yummy. But, you know, it's all coming from sustainability. And so I can see how these doors open up personally. So that's kind of where the question is coming from, where how can women spin all of the things for sustainability that are happening and leverage that into more leadership roles and to get more senior positions?
So obviously sustainability, ESG is very, very important in our industry. Local law 97 is hitting everyone in the face right now. And it's a great opportunity to really tap into your resources, your consultants. They really are the most knowledgeable in this industry. And they're ready, willing, and able to provide you with the information you need. I've had some of our consultants set aside time for webinars so that they can train our teams on specific things that are important to what we're doing in our buildings. And I think that obviously ESG, energy efficiency, LEED, all of these things are very important, and they're all available. If your company offers an opportunity to take courses so that you can obtain licenses, do it. Make the time, because it's important, it will help you stand aside from all the other people in the industry who are applying to the same jobs that you're applying to. It will make you stand out, I should say, in the industry. So take advantage of those resources.
Laura, same question.
So I would obviously try to understand your organization's goals for sustainability, as Alicia said, and Carolina, Local Law 97. At ESRT, we're dealing with all of them. We have a great group, sustainability group that helps us. We're dealing with Local Law 97, Local Law 88, water curtailment, you name it, we're dealing with it. And I took it as a personal objective of mine last year when I went to my property managers and said, reach out to all your tenants and tell them that we will pay for removal of composting if they buy the bins. And so yes, and it was very successful, and we're rolling it out to our whole company now. But I had about I think it was like 800,000 square feet of tenants doing it, and then my esteemed colleague Diane Fields brought Alicia into ESRT. For the electronic recycling, and I mean, I don't know if we have the counts for this year, but we last year had like 100 and
Killed it last
we had
year.
like
You guys-
102,000 pounds of e-recycling, and it's just been so great. Tenants appreciate it, and we're all interested in the environment and what we're going to leave to our children and our children's children. So, the more involved you get, the more you know about it. Take classes, the more you learn. And make it, something that's one of your goals. I think, everybody has to be interested.
That's good. Oh, Nikisha. Nikisha.
So ironically, my current role is literally because I answered the question of how can we be more sustainable in our firm. And so they said, oh, what are the ideas? I ended up writing 5 pages. I like to work late. I wrote a whole myriad of ideas. They're like, tag your it, now you're gonna build it. So that was a bit scary because sometimes when you raise your hand to say yes to something, then you have to back it up, right? And so those ideas have become a 3-year journey of looking more at property management on a portfolio level and a global level. So while my role at Hines is for a particular private client, I've been able to change their portfolio and how they think about their global waste management, the E and ESG on a regulatory standard, so working with our teams on all the local law, regulatory compliance, and on all the other things that we don't think about, right? And so making people look at property management just from a way of, let's think about do it right the first time, and that creates a synergy where you feel innovative, you feel like you're bringing in a new breed to the industry. Our industry is typically slow to new technology, right? So I also would encourage you attend certain conferences. There's CRETech, there's, Build New York, there's the USGBC, there's all these other organizations that will give you exposure to all the things that are happening in the industry, and being able to bring ideas like electronic waste bins that now sort the trash and teach that teaching. You bring those offerings to your tenants or to your clients. That shows innovation and advancement to where we're going in the future, because definitely when we compare ourselves, and I actually attended, I'm also a REBNY fellow. Shout out to REBNY. A couple of my REBNY fellows are here. One of those initiatives that we did, we actually went to an event where we met the mayors from London and who came to New York to work with our mayoral office. And so our mayoral office of sustainability has put together, it's like literally a 150-page document on where we are going for the city of New York. And those laws and regulatory standards are being rolled out. And for the property managers who are slow to look at that document and look at where we're going for the future, where it's resiliency. We all lived through Sandy. If you were a property manager, you knew what that was like downtown. The resiliency that we need to build for our buildings, backup generators. I mean, my first sustainable project was actually an additional backup generator for the FDNY after Sandy, because we realized how important it was just to have the infrastructure to support, and knowing that that was headquarters and ground zero for everyone in New York City when we were shutting down and there were road closures. Things like that make you have to be reactive. And so you want to think about, how can I be proactive for a solution or a problem that we might not be thinking is a problem today, but it's be a problem in the future.
That's good.
And I think, the common theme I'm seeing is you can utilize it to stand out, right? If you become an expert in certain things. And one of the things I'm noticing on the ESG level is that boards are really starting to pay attention to ESG. And so if you're in a leadership role, you're trying to be in a leadership role, and you happen to have innovative ideas and you can stand out through them, it's just another tool in the belt. And that's really what you can look at it as. Like, what else can I do for people to start noticing me? Because that is the key factor in many roles. Like, was your name in the hat? Do they know who you are? And a lot of times, like Carolina highlighted, she just thought, if I just did a good job, my name would obviously be in the hat. And I'm sure many of us know that we've learned that lesson the hard way. It was not. So really great advice, everybody. Thank you all for being a part of this. Thank you for being a part of this panel. I certainly have grown and learned so much from what you've just shared with me. I also love everybody in the room being like, I know. Amazing. You guys are awesome. So thank you all for coming. Please, let's have some drinks. I want you all to talk to each other, especially find the people with those green labels, guys, and these guys. If you don't already know them, please introduce yourself, and let's just get to know each other better, and get connected. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.